welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down my top plays at the running back position for this Week 11 NFL DFS slate on DraftKings. Before we get into it, if you could leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to be here all NFL season long, breaking down these NFL slates to help you become better NFL DFS players and give you the top plays each week, week in and week out, along with some reasoning, some things I'm looking at, some game strategy, and how you can succeed in these NFL tournaments. And then I'll be giving you some, value plays and cash plays as well. So you can take in all the information, take it all in, and apply it to whatever format that you plan. So with that being said, I have released multiple Patreon packages over there on Patreon. You can get access to all my rankings, my projections, and all that fun stuff. I'm going to give you guys some sneak peeks and refer to the data throughout the video. But if you want access to the full thing, link below in the description. You can follow me over on Twitter at KJK_DFS. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate. So I'm going to go by price tier, start at the upper price tier, talk about some guys that I'm interested in paying up for, and then work our way down to some more value guys. The first guy that I have interest in this week is Alvin Kamara, taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Alvin Kamara has been an absolute fantasy stud for a while now. I think if you've been playing fantasy football, you're well aware of him. He has a large snap share, and I'm projecting this game to move really fast. I'm projecting there to be a lot of snaps involved in this game, a lot of opportunities. I talked about it a little bit as far as QBs are concerned in my previous video, and I do think that same rule applies for Alvin Kamara with how much he's involved in the offense. I got to project for 20.69 DK points right now at a base projection. 3.5 point spread for them right now, and a 26.5 implied total for his team, and then a 1.16 big play rating. So I do think that there's some upside for him in this matchup. There's always upside with Alvin Kamara, let's be honest, but just with how fast this game's going to be moving and how involved he is in the offense, I love the spot. Last week, putting up 34.8 DK points against San Francisco. The week before was a little bit of a dud against Tampa, but then 2 weeks before, 25-22. He's consistently putting up, 20-plus fantasy points. And, of course, when you're paying 9.2 for the guy, you're looking for 30-plus. You're looking for the upside, the real upside, because you're paying up for him. And I do think that Kamara provides that. Looking at his stats on the year, you can see that he does have a large snap share, great yards per carry at 4.7, a ton of targets, 80 targets on the year so far, 34.5 juke rate, very impressive, 59 evaded tackles. He creates yards on the ground, 0.97 yards created per carry, but overall, he also has a 6.7 breakaway run rate, top of the guys that I'm talking about, and 7 breakaway runs on the year. So everything that I'm discussing just says upside, and then when looking at my running back matchup chart and looking at how the Falcons have fared against running backs, you can see they are the 24th best team to target, so not exactly ideal. However, when you're highlighting specifically, this receiving section in my sheet, you can see that they have really struggled as far as giving up receiving yards to running backs, and you love to see that in a guy like Alvin Kamara, who really exceeds at catching and creating opportunities out of the backfield. So maybe it'll lower his ownership, being that the Falcons aren't really the best team to target versus running back statistically, and I definitely like him in this spot this week. Next guy that I want to talk about is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook taking on the Dallas Cowboys, comes in at 9K on DraftKings this week. Projecting him to play around 65 snaps in the offense. Love to see that. 25.36 DK points, top projection on the slate as far as the running back position is concerned. So a guy that we had talked about in Alvin Kamara and having interest in, Dalvin Cook's actually cheaper, and I've got him projected for 5 DK points more. So take that for what you will. I've definitely liked Dalvin Cook this week, and when you're looking at the spread, they come in with a -7 spread right now. Consensus data being pulled into my sheet. And yeah, the Dallas Cowboys, when looking at my running back matchup chart, you can see that they are the 20th best team to target in terms of running backs. Not the best, however, they've been really, really good at limiting the receiving yards, but not so good on the ground. And Dalvin Cook's just been an absolute fantasy beast this year. We know what he's done. Looking at his game logs and the numbers he's been putting up, it's just been absolutely tremendous. Last week he had 15 DK points, a little underwhelming. The 2 weeks before, 42 and 51. I mean, Green Bay and Detroit both pretty good matchups, but I mean, it doesn't matter when you have a guy that's putting up 40-plus DK points, and he's actually not even the most expensive running back on the slate. I'm going to have interest. And I definitely have interest this week. He's just been an absolute fantasy beast. It's almost comical, like how good he's been. And when looking at his stats on the year, very, very impressive. 73.5% snap share, 5.5 yards per carry, 32.5 juke rate, 63 evaded tackles. His yards created are just very, very impressive. 2.37 yards created per carry, a 57.4 spot as far as yards created per game, and some of the best numbers in the league. It all just makes sense to be playing Dalvin Cook this week. He's probably my number one running back that I'm prioritizing in lineups. I'm not even going to say probably, he is. He's my top play, and yeah, love Dalvin Cook this week. Next guy on the list that I want to talk about is Mike Davis for these Carolina Panthers, taking on the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions provide the very best matchup in the league for running backs. I think it's a little bit of common knowledge at this point if you've been playing DFS all season long, but if you haven't or you weren't aware, the Detroit Lions are giving up 34.5 DK points a game to running backs. Not good. Giving it up through the air with the receiving, giving it up on the ground, just really struggling against the running back position. And Christian McCaffrey is out this week, so Mike Davis is going to get to man the entire backfield once again. And we've seen what he's been capable of doing in this role with McCaffrey out throughout the year. Last week, he didn't really perform all that well. 8. The last 4 weeks, not really anything before. But the 5 weeks before was when, that was primetime Mike Davis. Everyone was targeting him. And he had 15, 23, 22, 29, 12. I think he's shown that he can do it. And there's no better matchup than the Detroit Lions. So I just love this spot for Mike Davis. When looking at his stats on the year, you can see that he has a 68.3% snap share overall, of course. His heavy involvement when Christian McCaffrey's out, 54 targets, 37.4 juke rate, 52 evaded tackles. Very solid across the board as far as yards created per game, 21.9, 1.42 yards per carry. And he's got 4 breakaway runs with a 4.3 breakaway run rate. So, I mean, Mike Davis is right up there as far as when he's gotten the opportunities to perform, he's done it. And he comes in at a 6.8 price tag, and I've got him projected for around 16 DK points right now. 16.1 he's coming in on my projection model. Great value. I think he's priced reasonably, and I do think that he's going to get lots of volume in this one. Moving further along, James Conner, a guy that I definitely want to discuss because he comes in at a 6.6 price tag this week on DraftKings. And specifically when looking at the spread right now, they come in with a -10 spread, big favorites in this game, which we always like to see as far as the running back position is concerned, because that means they're going to get more carries. They get up in the game, they get up big. Of course, they have to stop passing the ball. They want to run it, chew some clock, run some clock out. And then that's when James Conner just gets fed. He's a workhorse running back, and he's the next guy that I want to discuss as far as the game script. He's a guy that I always want to target in these games where his team is projected to get up big, because that's exactly what's going to happen. They're just going to feed him the ball, and I do think he has tons of upside. And then specifically when looking at his game logs, he has done very, very bad the last 2 weeks. He had 6 DK points, 4 DK points, and I love to see that from a tournament aspect, because the worst of I love it when a guy has really performed. I say this all the time, but it's very true, and I think you need to, as a daily fantasy sports player, and if you want to get serious about this, or if you want to win money on DraftKings, you have to realize that people look at these numbers and they judge the player based on it. They're going to come in, like the average guy that's just playing DraftKings for the first time is going to come in and look at how they've been doing, and they're just going to be looking at this points column. That's all they care about right here, up through here, in this little spot here. 6'4", no, I don't want to play him. And I love that, because there's so much more that goes into it. You never know what could happen. The guy could have been hurt a little bit. He could have been pulled for multiple drives throughout the previous games. You got to look into that. And yeah, so that's my spiel, but I mean, it's so true. And when looking at the matchup against Jacksonville this week, you can see that they are the 6th best team to target in terms of running backs on my running back matchup chart, giving up 28.1 DK points a game, giving it up on the ground, giving it up through the air. And like I said, James Conner, just a workhorse running back. Looking at his numbers throughout the year, you can see he has a 64.2% snap share, 27 targets, 24 juke rate, 37 evaded tackles. You'll be able to see that. 6 breakaway runs, 4.5 breakaway run rate. So he's got the upside as far as long distance runs as well, and 1.36 yards created per carry, as well as 23.2 yards created per game. So just solid across the board, especially for his price tag. You're not paying $9,006, or you're not paying $9,000 or $9,200 like a Alvin Kamara or Dalvin Cook. I think the game script matches up. I think he's got the snap share, and he comes in at a 14.64 projection for me in my model right now. Pretty good value overall, and a 1.14 big play rating, which is great, which means that this Jacksonville run defense is just giving up those big plays pretty consistently. So I love to see that. I love the spot. I love the game script. They're expected to get up big in this game, and it all matches up for James Conner as far as 6'6". And then the next guy that I want to get into is in the low price tier at mid salary, Adrian Peterson this week. With the news that DeAndre Swift is ruled out, I do think that we could see an increased role for Adrian Peterson. I mean, they've already announced that he's going to see an increased role, but as far as my projections and where I'm grading him, you know, to I'm grading his role to be pretty heavy this week is what I'm trying to get at. And yeah, no DeAndre Swift, that's confirmed. And then specifically when looking at Adrian Peterson, he's only 4K on DraftKings this week. And it doesn't get much better than that. With a guy that's expected to take over, the entire running back role. You can see in the news, Peterson was told to prepare for a starting role Sunday against the Panthers after DeAndre Swift entered the concussion protocol Thursday before being ruled out. Running backs coach Kyle Kasky said Peterson will, quote, lead it off in Sunday's game against the Panthers. And, they also have Kerryon Johnson, but he's been getting most of his snaps on passing downs. So, I mean, that's pretty common with Johnson. That's something that we could look into maybe and have interest in him. But the first guy that I'm starting with is definitely AP. I have interest in Adrian Peterson this week, and it's a combination of his salary, the matchup, and all that good stuff. When looking at my running back matchup chart as far as how Carolina has fared against running backs, they are the 5th best team to target in terms of running backs, giving up a lot on the ground, giving up a lot through the air. And I do think that AP is in a great spot to exceed in this spot. Looking at his stats on the year, you can see, his snap share percentage has been down. Of course, usually it's DeAndre Swift getting most of the carries. He's got a 19.4 juke rate, 21 evaded tackles, 18.9 yards per carry per game. That's pretty solid, and a 1.57 yards per carry is very, very solid. And then 4 breakaway runs with a 4.1 breakaway run rate. So, for a guy that's hasn't been involved that much, his numbers are pretty impressive, actually. It's just a matter of the volume, and I think he's finally going to get a chance at the volume. AP, a guy that's getting up there in the years, and a guy that can't really take the pound and the wear and tear, I think at times, maybe, gets a chance to just go all out 1 week, is in a great spot, and is only 4K. So I think he's going to be all in. I think he's going to get many, many opportunities. I got him projected for 11.1 DK points right now, 46.5, and a 24.25 implied team total for him. Yeah, everything just matches up in my model to like him as a value play. If I'm playing cash, I think he's a great plug and play at only 4K this week. So those are my top plays at the running back position for this Week 11 NFL DFS slate on DraftKings. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos that I upload. I greatly appreciate that, guys. And then don't forget to check out my Patreon package, link below in the description. We get access to all these tools that I'm referencing during the video. You get the whole spreadsheet, though, every single player, every projection on the slate, and all that fun stuff, as well as my power rankings, and my cheat sheet and all of that. So check it out if interested. We will see you all in the next video. We're going to go ahead and start breaking down the wide receiver position.